We'll proceed with our regular session, and I call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Invocation will be given by Mr. Manny Noriega, Chaplain of the Veterans of Foreign Wars.
Heavenly Father, we ask that you guide the destinies of this council, whose purpose is to make our community a better place to live. We ask for guidance in their deliberations, so that their aims and purposes may be to the strengthening of their work. Grant them wise judgment that may lead them ever forward to greater service and achievement. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you very much, Chaplain. This is for you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Item number 4, the history fun facts. Like I mentioned on the previous meeting, whoever gets the answer right on the question at the end of the fun facts gets a trip to Disneyland. But they have to pay it themselves, but it'll be blessed by City Council. It's about mining communities in our area and now ghost towns. The Maori mine was originally the Patagonia mine, purchased in 1860 by Lieutenant Sylvester Maori. This mine was worked on by Mexicans as far back as 1857. The amount of mine produced in silver, zinc, lead was estimated at $1.5 million in the day. A lot of money. In 1862, the government confiscated the mine and arrested Lieutenant Maori for selling bullets to the Confederates. During the Civil War, the Apaches looted the town. Lieutenant Maori was later exonerated, but by then his mine had been sold and it was never produced a significant amount of ore after the war. A number of Apache attacks occurred at or near the mine. J. Ross Brown described several of these attacks in the book he wrote, Adventures in the Apache Country. Harshaw Mine. The town of Harshaw was settled in 1877, named after the cattleman turned prospector David Harshaw, who first successfully located silver in the area. Was among Arizona's highest producer of ore and the largest mine. The final life of the mine was from 1939 to 1956, when Asarco worked the flux and trench mines located nearby. In 1963, Harshaw ran afoul of the U.S. Forest Service. The Coronado National Forest was established on July 1st, 1953, and Harshaw was declared a ghost town. Washington Camp served as a supply community for Duquesne, Maori, and Harshaw. It housed a reduction plant, miners' bunk houses, a general store, and a school. The town grew to about 1,000 residents. At one time, Washington Camp and Duquesne became headquarters for as many as 80 claims. Although their existence began in 1860, they became productive when George Westinghouse of Westinghouse Electric Company acquired many of the claims. Major production ran from 1912 to 1918, producing over 450 tons of ore, with zinc, lead, copper, plus silver as an important byproduct of the claims. Duquesne Mining and Reduction Company established Duquesne in the 1880s. They laid out the city where the company's official residence and mining offices could be located. The post office opened in 1880 and closed in 1920. A school was built between Duquesne and Washington Camp because they were only a mile apart. Duquesne is a privately owned town with lots for sale and several current residents. Lochiel, first called Luttrell for Dr. J.M. Luttrell, who ran a boarding house and owned the Holland Company Smelting Works, a mining and ranching community who grew to include 2 smelters, a butcher shop, 3 bakeries, 3 saloons, 3 stores, a boarding house, a stable, and other businesses. The population at that time was 400. Like most mining communities, its life was short, but in 1980, the town wanted to reopen the school. It was unsuccessful due to no students. There were teachers, but no students. This community is nestled in the corner of the San Rafael Valley and surrounded by cottonwoods and is an oasis in the desert. Several Hollywood films have been made there, such as Monte Walsh, Oklahoma, and Tom Horn. With the arrival of the railroad to Nogales in 1882, more and more miners came to southern Arizona, including Edward Tickham, who arrived here in 1883. Tickham established Roy and Tickham. It was a large supplier and provider to the mining industry, both in these areas of southern Arizona and as well as in Mexico. His skills combined with mining opportunities caused the growth of Nogales. Just for your information, in the year 2003, there were a total of 162 recorded mines in Santa Cruz Valley alone. These areas are all considered very famous ghost towns and attract tourists from all over the world. Question: out of these communities, Washington Camp, Harshaw, Maury, Duquesne, and Lochiel, which of these is the oldest mining settlement in the area?
Maury.
Could you repeat them?
Washington.
They know this.
Washington Camp, Harshaw, Maury, Duquesne, and Lochiel. Which of these is the oldest mining settlement in the area?
Duquesne. Lochiel, I seen the graveyards, the oldest was 1900, so it's not that old.
Which one did you say, Mr.
Maury?
Mr. You said Maury too?
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? Maury? How many Maurys? You're all going to Disneyland.
Oh.
Yeah.
Give me my
When
purchase
you-
order.
When you get over there, send us a postcard. Yeah, Maury is the oldest camp, honestly, you know, it's unbelievable how far mining has taken Santa Cruz County, and these are just a handful, because if you go to Santa Cruz County on the west side, you have Ruby Mine, you have all the mines in Arivaca. Some of the mines in the Arivaca area were very, very successful. And a lot of these mines are still active claims. The majority of them are active claims. And like I said, there's 162 of them.
And Wildcat Mining is going to open up that Patagonia mine.
Well, that's another one that they've already got that one. It's in the Forest Service.
Right.
All that area is full of minerals. Back then they would go under in tunnels. So it was following the vein. Now they do a different procedure, so they give the possibilities of getting it. It's a lot better. Okay, well, there's a bunch of smart people today here, so I'm very, very impressed.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes?
What movie of Paul Newman's was partially filmed there in Harshaw?
Paul Newman?
Paul Newman was here in Nogales. It was a mining deal, he was in a mine there.
No.
No, he was an Indian, he played an Indian.
Was Geronimo.
Hombre.
There you go. Yeah.
That was filmed
But the
in
Tom
Nogales.
Horn was Steve McQueen.
Steve McQueen
That was the other. most recent. That was all filmed there at that one house there in San Rafael, California. Okay, item number 5 is it's an update on image building. Before I go any further, on the image building, I want to thank very much the Explorers. I wasn't able to attend their graduation, and I'm sorry about that. You know, I was very busy, and I want to thank Mr. Hanesiak for attending. For the rest of the council, I don't know if anybody else was able to go there on Friday, but the Explorers is a very good example of image building for our community, because the work that they do and the support that they do and the future of our police department is right there, right in front of our faces, and the work that you've done and the other officers, I want to thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
On image building itself, well, as you know, we started with the bumper stickers, and we got some lapel pins. We have also some just regular pins that we're giving out at the schools. All this information and all of this, we're going to be taken to the Arizona League of Cities and Towns. We're going to have a booth there in Tucson, and we're going to give these out with other information from Nogales for image building. And this is, I asked Mr. Dilly, and this is what we need to have in all of our city vehicles, not only our own vehicles, but the city Public Works Department, Police Department vehicles. They should have these in their vehicles, because this is important. And the way you say this is, Nogales AZ, a great little place to be. You're amongst friends. You're amongst friends was actually a quote that was I don't know, this about 10 years old, about 2000?
Yes.
Yeah, that's when the first lapel pins came out. So we continue with you're amongst friends, which is true, you're amongst friends. But Nogales is also a great little place to be, and we're the model port of the state of Arizona, and we're also the gateway to Mexico. So we're going to continue with this drive and getting this out there. I got together with some people from Phoenix. They have it's called CARE Inc. And we're going to start a committee here in Nogales. We're going to meet in September for the first time, and then in October. And it's called For Our City. And what it is getting groups of people, of local leaders from the schools, from the city, from different organizations in the city, to get together so that they can help us and guide us and give us direction of how they expect or how they want or how they would like to see the city move forward. So there's no cost to this. This is just being part of an organization that's basically to find information and getting people together in the community. So from here to September, I believe September the 23rd, is going to be our first meeting, and then we're going to have an event in October, the 22nd. That event is going to coincide with Clean City, Healthy City, which is also image building. We're going to use that to get some people volunteer. The governor of the state of Arizona has a volunteer program that CARE Inc. is involved with. And what this is you get community involvement. They accumulate volunteer time and promote volunteerism. And then they take a report back to the governor and saying what Nogales is doing to volunteer for their community and what they're doing to promote their community, which is, I think, a very good effort at the state. You know, we get very few good efforts out of the state of Arizona, but that's one of them. You know, and I'm glad that that we're getting that support from there. It's a good point that that John has, the member from CARE Inc., that says that if we take this information out there, they have a project right now with the Centennial Committee. He's part of it. So what I'm looking for is to see if we can get support for our Centennial event that we want to have before February the 14th of next year. Which also, we met a few months back with a group of people from Nogales and different organizations and different leaders and just regular people in Nogales. That's where we came up with this. And they had a lot of good ideas that we could use down the road to promote Nogales. So we have to take the message out of Nogales. As residents, as employees of the city, let us take the message out of Nogales. I plan to do that. I'm leaving to El Paso on the 14th, and I'm going to be there to the 17th. And we're going to finalize the resolution for the Board of Mayors Association. That's the information I plan to take over there, because we're not the only community that has a perception problem with the southwest border and the border itself with a problem. So I hope I can take a good message over there, because we're going to also be preparing the mission statement and vision statement for the city of Nogales and for the whole border region. So if anybody, councilman, or anybody, any director, anybody has anything that you think I need to know before that date, I would like to hear it, so I can take this information to El Paso and be able to talk about that. And we're going to talk about border security, we're going to talk about trade, and then we're going to talk about the resolution for the Board of Mayors Association. So that's kind of like an update on what my office is doing on image building. All of us, we're going to be in Tucson for the Arizona Leagues of Cities and Towns, Arizona Leagues of Cities and Towns, and we're all going to be sharing with some of the staff here a booth there, so we can get the message out. My wife, I want to thank Esther very much, because Esther taught my wife how to make cascarones, and Kathy stays up at night making cascarones. So we're going to, for those that you don't know what a cascaron is, it's an empty egg with confetti in it with a cone, and very decorative. So we're going to take some of those, and we're going to give little barros, the tequila, but no tequila, just the barros, and all this information to them, and possibly some candies, local candies, and empanadas made locally from the Santa Cruz Training Center. So we're going to take a lot of neat stuff to give out over there and be able to inform the other cities what Nogales is all about, and assuring them that Nogales is a very safe, a very clean, and a very healthy community. So that's my report on this.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
On our trip to the housing conference this weekend, Councilman Diaz, Councilman Parada, and myself, we took a lot of this information.
Oh yeah, that's right. You guys did.
And we did a lot of promoting. A lot of people are wearing it. A lot of people are thankful. We gave them the Nogales pin. Where we went to eat, we gave them the Nogales pin. They were wearing it. You go back and they were wearing it with a lot of pride. So we did a lot of promoting up there in Kentucky. So if you go to Kentucky,
we'll see the pins
you'll
over
see
there.
the pins over there.
And that's what we want to do. We want to take the message outside of it. We know we live in a safe community. We all know that. Our message has to be taken out. So every time I talk to a group, I talk to anybody, please take this message outside of the county. Not the city of Nogales. We know that our county is very safe in our city. So let's take this message out there and let's promote our city, you know, the best way we can. And we'll be successful.
Tomorrow, Mayor, they have our opening for the teachers and the employees at the high school. You should go, somebody to pass these out for them to promote that.
We should do that. We have plenty. We bought I don't, Celine, how many thousand of these? Several, 5,000 bumper stickers? Yeah, something like 5,000? Yeah. And we've already installed about 200 cars ourselves. What I'm doing is I'm installing them myself, so if nobody says no. The only one that did install it is Mr. Kissinger, Aaron, and Mr. Dilly said no. Yes.
Now qualify that.
Yeah. Well, they said they wanted one for the window inside, one for the dash. They're not into the bumper sticker thing, but we should have all these on the patrol cars. We should have these in every city vehicle. It's good. It's good to have this. When a city's driving, when a car is driving down the road, it's a great little place to be. No honest.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
you know, with the introduction and the update and the general, you know, support from the council, we'll make sure that every vehicle has that.
Thank you very much. And for the last part of my image building is that, yes.
Can I suggest also for the chief of police, any car they ticket?
Hey, you know what? If they go through that camera and they get a red light, they got bumper sticker on it.
That'll be the warning.
That'll be the warning. Yeah. After that, you get the ticket. Okay. This is a recommendation to the city council. For I don't know how many years. I think I want to say about 10 years. I don't know. Vice Mayor, you probably remember, or you, Lopez, when our personal business cards were made. I think it had to have been in 2000 or maybe 2001, when I think that was the last time they did something like that. We came up with this, with the help of two of my friends, we came up with this as our new business card. I think we have this little gold color foil type seal that you can barely identify. I think we need to identify our seal properly, and I think we need to put a little bit more art into design. So I'm going to pass these down, and so the council can see it. And
Mr. Mayor, are they going to be that big?
You're going to order only two. So that you can see, if you notice on the seal, there's a little reflection in the bottom. So, you know, it really puts a little bit of art on there, and I think it's something different that we should have. And this is I'm recommending for something that we should change for all the city. What I plan to do, I plan to order mine like this. But I would love to see everybody in the city, all the council and employees and everybody to follow this. You know, our envelopes or our paper, so we can leave it as is. I'm talking about the business card, the card that you always give out and people keep to, you know, to refer to information.
Can we add You're Among Friends under the city of Nogales?
You know, that's what my wife said.
I think we need to
Wait, did you talk to her, Mr. Parada?
Maybe
No, de veras, that's what my wife said.
on the back side of the card.
Yeah, because on the back side of the card, if you notice the other one, on the center, it's not going to have that design because that's something we thought about. It's going to have the web page. We could add that. We could add the yeah. It's a decision that I would like to do so we can maybe you know, take it into consideration. Look at my wife over there. You must have talked to her. But yes, we can do that.
You'll see, Mr. Mayor, and it's a great suggestion, Councilman Parada. You'll see other communities where they'll have all the formal business information on the front side, but on the back side they'll have like an embraced phrase or a slogan or something like that, and that's a great place to put something like that.
Let's do that. Do you guys, are you interested in putting the color to the
Yes.
to the logo? Yes. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, so item number 6 is call to the public. Is there anybody in call to the public?
I don't have any.
No? Anybody? Nobody? Okay. Item number 7, discussion on status of city recycling and green waste.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to introduce our management analyst, Aaron White. He is intimately becoming more and more familiar with our solid waste program and is here to give the council an update and the general public an update on our green waste and recycling efforts.
Yep. And this is just for information. It wasn't placed on the agenda, but I requested this because of the continuous calls that we get in City Hall and questions that are asked. So I asked Mr. Kissinger and Aaron to come up with something. So we need to see exactly where we're at with recycling and exactly where we're at with green waste, because I think there's some answers and some questions we need to hear today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I would also like to introduce Kurt Wall, who is our regional representative for Tucson Recycling and Waste, and we'll call on him in just a few minutes to give us an update as well as what's going on his end with recycling. So we'll just dive right in. So I'm sure it's all of you
I'm
know.
sorry, this is on their desk.
Yeah, I handed it all out to you. Notes there. So as all of you, I'm sure, remember back in 2006, the city received a grant from ADEQ to pursue curbside recycling. And so with that money, with the city's matched funds, the blue and gray bins were bought and distributed, and we spent about $60,000 on a full-fledged education campaign that was in the newspapers and the pamphlets and everything like that. And at the time of the grant application, they estimated that about 40% of our waste would be diverted into recycling, with a savings of about $177,000. And the recycled items included paper, newspaper, aluminum, glass, and plastics, 1 and 2.
Aaron, when you reference they, is that the community estimated 40% recycling, or did we have a consultant, or did we, I mean, how did we come up?
Yeah, thank you.
Was it just they as in general?
It was done through a consultant. I'm sorry, I don't have the name of the consultant.
But the point is that somehow we were provided that information, 40%? Okay.
Correct. Thank you for the clarification. And so then, what were the outcomes of that? Now, here we are about 5 years later. And unfortunately, the general waste and recyclables never were separated at the curbside. We have the blue bins, we have the gray bins, but our sanitation crews, as they go around on Thursdays and Fridays on recycle day, they put both the gray bin and the blue bin in the same truck. And unfortunately, that has happened. Go ahead.
Sorry, Mayor. Yes. Additionally, it's not just putting the gray and the blue in the same truck, but people are putting gray material in the blue container as well, right? So it's a big, comprehensive overall problem, right?
That is correct. Okay. The education campaign, I think, did a nice job at first on the upfront end, but unfortunately we didn't have anything on the back end of an enforcement campaign, and making sure that people were washing out their milk jugs and so on and so forth. And so we do have that problem there.
Yes, just for information, and in the original grant from ADEQ, it was for the gray containers, and it was in 2001. It was $210,000. That was for the original, because I was there at the time. Okay. The second time, when they went for the blue containers, I think there was, if I'm mistaken, there was matching money to get the blue containers. But one of the things, Aaron, that I read through your PowerPoint, one of the things that I noticed there, last year when we were going through the budget and the council, we talked about purchasing, was it two trucks? Two trash trucks? Yes, we said two vessels, no? Okay, we said that one of them was going to be blue. One truck was going to be blue. And it never happened. See, if that truck would have been blue, and we had just identified a route or identified that truck to pick that up, then we would be taking nothing but clean material, even though it's commingled. By commingled, I mean not dirty, but cardboard, plastic bottles, and everything to the plant. And I think that's where we failed. We failed at that part because if we would have done that, right now, the questions asked out there, Aaron, and that's why I'm glad we had that meeting in the office that day with Mr. Kissinger and myself. The questions asked is the people are not. They don't understand. They don't understand why we have two containers. They don't understand why they still wash some stuff, because I know that because my wife and I do that. If you look at our blue container, it's spotless, and everything we throw in there is recyclable. But come Thursday, everything goes in the same truck. And that's not the citizens. That's not us doing it. It's the practices of sanitation. So if they would have dedicated themselves and said, you know what, this blue truck is going to be blue. And as a matter of fact, they even talked about painting it blue. So when that truck showed up at neighborhoods, that truck was going to pick up nothing but the blue container. And that's why I've been, you know, concerned about this, because, you know, and I'm glad you're here, because are we really recycling? Could you answer that, please?
Absolutely. Mr. Mayor and Council, everything you say is very true from the get-go, from the beginning of the time when we brought the sort line down here. Originally, we came in because of problems with the compactor and obviously issues between the county landfill and the city, and resolved that. Then, through the council, we put in the sort line. And I totally remember talking about the truck, and as far as the public campaign to introduce the blue barrels in the recycling program, a truck being totally dedicated to, and that would help, obviously, educate the public in keeping the blue. But because a lot of that hasn't happened, and I'm sure there are many of the public that do, just as yourself, and keep the recyclables separate, many don't, as well as not necessarily always the fault of the trucks, but they also go to other stops, commercial stops sometimes in between, before they'll get back to the transfer station. And when that happens, one small 6-yard or 8-yard of container of produce will wipe out the efforts of hundreds of your constituents that are trying and practicing. As far as your question, I think, what are we recycling? Since we started the sort line, we've always been recycling something. We are currently, because of the R.W. Beck report and what it told us and how we negotiated with the city approximately, well, right at about a year ago, we have downsized the recycling efforts because of a lack of marketable commodities to us. One thing that sets off Nogales from just massing it with the rest of the cities everywhere is, on the street right now, there's a massive recycling program and effort. When we get a truck coming into the transfer station and dump now, we very rarely see enough aluminum cans to do anything with. Where if you go to Phoenix or Chandler and see some of their operations, you'll see tons and tons of that stuff. Stuff that makes the recycling efforts more profitable, and actually not profitable, but able to sustain itself. Here, we don't see that. So our viewpoint on it after 7 years of being here is the public on the street is obviously gathering that stuff up, your cardboard, your aluminum, and so forth, before it even gets there. The other thing to speak to the community is there used to be a recycling place right across the street here, a big one that's out of business. Today I was notified that we had a load of cardboard, a 40-yard container that we took over to Mariposa Recycling, which we have been taking because of location to us. They were giving us $60 a ton, which is below the market in Phoenix. It's about $125 a ton last month anyways. But we were taking it there loose, and they were bailing it. Today they sent the load back and said they'd no longer take it because of processing fees. And in turn, we had 2 or 3 cars or trucks come in today saying, just take it. We can't get rid of it anymore, and Mariposa won't take it. So those options now are gone.
But we as a city, if we have a blue truck, okay, and nothing but recyclables are in that blue truck, it doesn't go through your scales, does it?
Not at all.
It goes. It's not so. We don't pay for it.
You
Zero.
pay zero. And the current operation.
See,
that we have,
that's the key right there. If we don't pay, even though you don't get any money on the market because there's no market for it, it's still that blue truck would not go through the scales. It would not be charged because it's not going to end up at the landfill.
That is absolutely correct.
Tipping fee problem.
Right. It would be dumped into the old compactor, which we've got a trailer hooked up to it, and when that truck fills up, we'll take it up to Tucson now as our only other option.
Is that where you have your sorting now in Tucson?
That's where it'll go, because we're not going to sort ourselves anymore because it's so cost prohibitive. But we will take it to either, we're already talking to Recycle America, Friedman, and Hudson Baylor just won the new contract with the city of Tucson to process all their recycling. So they're building a new facility, in Tucson.
And that's a dirty MRF?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so they'll accept.
I'm sorry, it's not a dirty MRF.
But they'll accept
They'll accept commingled. They won't
Commingled, but not
accept-
dirty.
Our MRF is dirty, which is.
That's what I meant, the commingled.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Yeah, so right now, it just, you know, let's be straight, okay? Right now, are we recycling?
Yes.
How much?
20 tons a month, approximately.
And we take 60 to 70 a day,
Correct,
and we're recycling 20 a month.
correct. It's a very low percentage, you're absolutely correct.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a
Okay.
question, please? You've been in this business a long time. I'm going to lean on that just for a second. When I last did a survey of, like, you know, cities like Gilbert or Chandler or Tempe or Mesa on their success in diversion through their recycling programs, do they ever truly hit the 40% in terms of diversion? What is a reasonable, a realistic diversion rate on a curbside recycling program?
And again, you gotta look at your market. If you go over to California and look at some of the places where they're
Environmentally, that's
subsidized,
different.
exactly.
I'm talking about here in Arizona.
I would say 25 to 30% would be aggressive and good.
If we achieve 25%, then we're probably doing a pretty decent job in
I'd
terms
say
of
a very
recycling.
good job.
Okay. I just wanted to establish what our goal probably ought to be and be realistic if we're going to put everything out on the table. Mayor, help me with a little bit of history on the purchase of these 2 trucks. I honestly hadn't heard that council's direction when they came in that one of them was going to be dedicated strictly to
We talked
recycling.
about it.
Can you help me understand maybe a little bit more about the discussion on why the need for a dedicated recycle truck?
So that we wouldn't throw both containers of blue and the gray at the same time Thursday morning.
So
Because I may understand a little bit more about commingle and about, you know, dirty
Sure.
and clean.
Sure.
But not everybody does. So what happens if you throw them both in the same container, people go, well, why wash it? Why put it in there? Let's throw everything in the gray container. Why spend $200,000 on blue containers when I just use one gray container?
So
You know, those are the questions that are asked. You know what I mean?
I understand. I appreciate that. So the state statutes or administrative law requires municipalities to pick up household refuse twice a week. That's. I mean, we're obligated as a municipality to ensure that happens. Either we do it with our own staff and forces, or we contract it out. But it has to be twice a week. However, there's a clause there that stipulates that a municipality can back away from that on the refuge to once a week pickup, so long as the second pickup is recycling. Okay, but what we do here right now is we have still twice a week refuge pickup, and on that second day we're also picking up the recycling. So we're picking up those and mingling it, and that's a big problem, and we recognize that. Can you help me understand? Probably when the program was put into place, there was an effort to do once a week refuge and once a week recycling, and that kind of somehow, you know, never transpired. Because if we're gonna consider a dedicated garbage truck to recycling, then we're talking about a whole nother route and a whole nother you know, staffing for that in the sanitation department for recycling purposes that even in the best of circumstances is difficult to even pay for itself. So really the municipalities have found a solution to this, and so that it's not an added cost to the city as much by having once a week refuge and once a week recycling, and that way they can use their existing trucks for recycling and they're not commingling it. It's just on that route, all they're picking up is recycling. But that's not going to be possible if we continue the twice a week refuge pickup plus the recycling. If we were to do that and have a dedicated truck, then it would be a whole nother truck and additional staff to man that truck.
Well, Mr. Dilly, the problem here is that when recycling was first identified in Nogales at the time, and I brought it up and I said, let's do a pilot program. And Mr. Kissinger, do you remember that, Mr. Kissinger? I said, a pilot program. Let's pick one neighborhood and let's do it there so we don't spend $200,000 worth of trash cans. Little containers. I lived in California for about a year, and that's the way it was.
Right.
You had little containers, and that's all. And they picked it up. And once you get that neighborhood, that colonia to work, and then you say, okay, let's go jump to another piece of the city, another quadrant of the city. But not spend that much money, and then no education, nothing but a blue container. And they went, and if you go to Public Works right now, Mr. Tilly, and go to the back side where sewer has their vector trucks, I don't know how many hundreds of those containers are there. Hundreds stacked, 2 stories high of blue containers.
The small.
The
regular
blue
ones.
containers,
Yeah.
the blue containers, the big ones. So you know, it's a fact. You know, I think we jumped at it, you know, differently. You know, we took a dive into the pond instead of feet first, and that was a mistake. But I think the way it should be activated is have the blue container get picked up every 2 weeks. The blue container. We throw in a gallon of milk, a couple of cardboard newspapers and stuff. It's a huge container. So when the guys show up on Thursday, they look in there and there's nothing there. They just reach in there, grab the stuff that's clean, and then they throw it in the gray container and then roll it out to the curb and throw it in the truck.
Makes no sense at all.
No sense at all. And I think that's part of that. Those are the things that we should have done. And I think if you would have done, if it was done every 2 weeks, the blue container, then you could have a truck rolling and probably on a route for just recycling. Because I'd rather see a truck show up at the transfer station and not go through the scale. Because that's savings for us at the landfill. It's kind of like the green waste. We have green waste going through the scale instead of mulching it. But you know, that's what I'm saying. We have to, that's a practice that if we do, we can recycle, not ignore the recycling program, but at the same time maybe save a little bit of money. Like I mentioned to Aaron, I said, Aaron, I remember we used to mulch with a small chipper. We used to mulch anywhere from, I don't know, 50 tons a week, you know, chip it. Tabulated per tons that wasn't going to the landfill. It's quite a bit of money.
Right.
And you know, instead of bringing in 60 to 70 tons of gray waste, and then household waste, and then 1 day out of the week green waste, and bringing in another 60 tons, you know, mulch it, put it in a heap for compost, do something. But that's part of recycling, that's part of fixing the environment, that's part of doing everything. And in the past 4 years, honestly, Mr. Dillon, we have failed. We have failed bad. We have failed, and I think, you know, that's the reason I asked for this, and you know, I wanted to, you know, I know Aaron's trying to do his best to get things done, and it's not going to be all in him. It's up to us. It's up to the community to do it, but we're going to need to give him a little bit of push there, and I think scheduling is a big problem.
So let me just take, if I can, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Let me just take this one step further. You know, I don't know how many people live in the Phoenix Valley. Anybody want to venture a guess? I would imagine it's probably around 3 million people who live in the valley. And every single one of those communities somehow have figured out a way to do once a week solid waste pickup and once a week recycle. And you know, there's always the concern of not being able to fit all of my refuge in the one container once a week. But somehow, these 3 million people in the Phoenix area, and that's just that, but you know, Sierra Vista and Casa Grande, they all do it. Somehow they've been able to figure out how to make that happen. And I'll be honest with this council, I've had thoughts about suggesting that we just pull back the blue containers, figure out what our plan is going to be, leave the gray containers there. We're picking it up twice a week, and that's what our program is. In the interim, maybe we stick out some community recycle containers that we make coordination, and we get it picked up someplace for people to go that really want to do this recycling. Figure out what our plan is, and then reintroduce it to the community, and know that that's the direction that we're going to go.
You mean by putting rollouts and stuff like that in locations?
On an interim until we figure out our our recycling program and how it's going to roll out and the direction we're going to go with it. But I wasn't prepared to make that as a hey, let's do that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be honest with the council that the thought has hit me on a number of occasions that this thing is so it's like so out of whack with what we had projected in 2006. Maybe it's worthwhile to just pull back a second, circle the wagons and figure out, okay, what is our next move and how are we going to do this? And basically we're wiping the slate clean and we're kind of starting over with the recycling program that makes sense for us in the year 2011 or the future. So I mean, it's something to consider, but the chore of even doing this, where we have a dedicated truck to to do recycling even twice a month, it's going to add cost to our operation and not save cost is my gut feeling. And we'll run the numbers and we'll crunch it so that you know exactly what that is if that's the direction we're going to go. But it only makes sense because we're having a truck go out and do what our current trucks probably could do.
Yeah, but do you think we can come up with an estimated number of what you think is taken out of the blue container and not recycled right now? Because like I said, if it's taken out of the blue container and put in a clean truck, it won't go through the scales. It won't cost us anything.
But my point is, it doesn't have to be a clean truck. It has to be a truck that is only picking up, right?
Yeah, so what I'm saying, do you think you can come up with a number that says, okay, this is about the tonnage that we estimate that we're right now throwing into the same truck and not even commingling, nothing, just taking it to the landfill?
We'd probably have to do like industry averages on what a typical container contains, and if we had a real aggressive recycling program, it's probably the 20% diversion that we would end up saving if we had a successful recycling program, and the whole community was behind it, and we're doing it.
But you said 20 tons a month?
20 tons a month.
Right now?
Currently. Back when we were running the sort line, it probably was in the neighborhood of 105 to 200, 100 to 200 tons a month when we were running.
You had a sorting line? When
we had the whole sort line in the baler, and we were pulling all the plastics out. And when you did the report with her, had the consultant R.W. Beck come in, the city did, and that's when they ran the numbers and came up with a dollar amount of $200 and X dollars to process 1 ton of recycling, because again it was commingled. But on both your part, you're exactly right. A stepping into the water would have been maybe a little bit more the proper thing, because one thing that we found out in the time that we've been here is your waste stream is very, very unique down here. I mean, the industry is produce, and that contaminates a lot of cardboard. Plus the cardboard, the waxed cardboard that we get, is not acceptable to anybody for recycling, so that's trash. So when we look at the waste stream, and I've stood and watched all the trucks push out, trying to find, and you can kind of see layers where it has gone through a recycling area, maybe this neighborhood, maybe your neighborhood, where people are doing a great job, but then you'll see other areas.
And these layers are where the truck's dumping out?
Right, when it's pushing out.
Oh, okay.
Exactly, when it's ejecting the trash. And certainly I think the idea of advertising on a truck with a recycling or something anyway would give them a feeling or perspective of recycling. But again, as we've talked, and I've had the pleasure of meeting with Mr. Dilly, one of my partners who's even a lot more knowledgeable about garbage than myself, when we look at the waste stream here, it's very, very unique compared to other areas that we've worked. We work in Prescott where they have no blue barrels and everything is privatized. There is no recycling day. There are no recycling centers for the most
They don't
part.
recycle in Prescott?
No, or Prescott Valley.
Wow, I didn't know that.
No.
You don't have liberals up there?
That's an artsy community.
Kent, you're saying that
Strange.
our community is unique from your perspective and your experience. What impact does that have on what you just said about our diversion potential if we were to get aggressive with recycling? Are you saying that it would be more or less?
I think if you reach a percentage of 20%, you'd be very successful with a waste stream that is currently here. Of the 30-some-thousand people or so that you pick up from, compared to the same 30,000 at Chandler or Gilbert or somewhere else, the waste stream is totally different.
I made this comment. I mean, I know a lot of people, and the only place I know this happens is here in Nogales. I mean, at my house, all the plastic and all the cans and all that, we give them to some lady, and she recycles them. She sells them. It's the only place I know that hundreds of families do the same thing. It's just not us. A lot of people, instead of throwing it in the blue can, which I don't have, and don't have a gray can either, but anyway. Everybody gives it.
We'll fix that.
Everybody gives it to somebody, especially all the metal cans, right? And that's the way Nogales is. I've never heard of anybody in Tucson saying, "Oh, we're saving the cans or the plastic to give them to somebody that is going to come over and pick it up." The only place is here in Nogales. And my wife, she puts it in her cars and she takes it and gives it to somebody there, and they do all the recycling.
Which is probably why
it's so much less here in Nogales.
less here. But if you think about it, this community moved forward in this venture with an understanding that we're probably going to see 40% diversion, which is, it equates to a 40%.
We're never going to get 40%
cut in our tipping fees, right?
He says we're never going to get to 40%.
But
I mean, 20% is the best we could look at.
so now we're already half of that. And I just wanted, that's pretty important.
I told Shane this past Sunday, I went to a baseball game in Phoenix, and they had everywhere. They had a Pepsi and Waste Management. Have you seen those? The containers there to put in all the plastic in there, all the plastic. And I mean, it was amazing. Everybody was throwing all their plastics into those little deals, and then they had them outside around the ballpark. And it was strictly little containers that were made out of cardboard and said Pepsi Cola, and it said you Waste Management down at the bottom, and it said City of Phoenix, right? So obviously they're doing a lot of recycling. Here in Nogales again, this is like the problem. It's not a problem. It's getting recycled. It's just not being recycled through them, right?
Could we? I shouldn't say that because it's not action. But could there be like a study done to see if it's like Mr. Felix was saying? He's telling me he takes out his blue container every 2 weeks or so. Mine is like right outside by the door. So, unless I hide it, the trash guys are still going to take it out. But what I'm saying is that could you do a study, Aaron? Could you do a study and see if you could pick up just recycled materials like that one day, and then see if we could do a 2-week thing before we even, start thinking about completely moving away from the blue container.
We can. Yeah. It's just going to add cost to our city. I'm just letting you know.
I mean, I'm talking about maybe a month or 2 month study.
Yeah, just to see how people are using their blue cans.
See, so that we can get a number of how much tonnage or how much goes clean, co-mingled material that goes and can be identified by Tucson Recycle and say, this is clean stuff, it's not going to go through the scales. And it could be 10 tons, 20 tons, because our trucks are what, 10-ton trucks? 8 ton?
6 to 8 tons.
Yeah, 6 to 8 tons. Could we try that out, Mr. Dilly? Just.
I think probably if we're gonna do something like that, it would be more practical to like identify an area of town and just
do it there.
Just pilot in that area of town, because if we're gonna do the whole town,
it would be one route, one time.
It would be one route, one time, and then and then we can see the results. But if we were going to do it community-wide, it would really be a cost.
Okay.
Big cost for us.
Yeah,
We'll work with Tucson Recycling and see what we can kind of put together and move forward with that.
Okay, and any other member of the council want to say anything about recycling? No? Mr. Coronado?
I can add that at the very beginning, it was an eye-opener for everybody, every resident here. They were using the blue canister for the recycling. They were doing that.
That's right.
They, we still do it at home.
Yeah.
You know, we do everything. But the thing is, when they started saying, putting both in the same truck, they said, what the heck's going on?
Why go through the effort of
Right.
recycling?
And I remember that, I think they tried going once a week to pick up the garbage, then to pick up the recycling during the week.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out too good because the garbage was there for a week, and it created, especially in the summer, it created a lot of smell and a lot of flies around the area. So that's why we have to continue to
Do it twice.
yeah, do it twice.
Yeah.
And I don't think we can work our way out of this one. I think we're going to have to purchase a truck or something. And it's going to be cost us, but I think we had that direction. I think that's where we're headed, to that direction.
There are, you guys, there are millions of people out there that figure this out. I really can't see why we can't somehow do this. And here's the reality. Here really is the reality. If we can't figure out how to do a once-a-week recycling and a once-a-week solid waste pickup, it's just good. Our services are going to be more expensive. They'll have to be more expensive than any other place because they're figuring out how to do it with once-a-week solid waste and once-a-week recycling. They deal. I mean, Phoenix is a lot hotter than we are. They deal with that.
Yeah, but their containers like 95 square feet or cubic feet. It's as big as a door.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I've seen them. They have real
That's what happened here in Nogales. They did not really look into it, and they gave us too small a containers. All the ones I've seen in Tucson
side
are
loaders.
much bigger.
So in terms of a gallon, I know that when I rolled out a recycling program up in Queen Creek, we rolled out with the 96-gallon container.
Correct.
Standard side load
That's
pickup.
what we have here.
So what do we have at here in Nogales? Okay.
96.
I looked at the purchase orders.
Yeah.
65.
They're 65.
65.
So they're a third the size of.
Yeah, they're 65.
They're 65.
Hey, I know my trash.
Both on the solid waste and on.
Yes. They're smaller.
They're either 65 or they're adequate for the
And that was a problem from the original. They should
Wow.
have looked into it and see what they
We
were.
need to clear the
That's
slate and
what
start
happened.
over.
Yeah, because if you have a
Maybe
container,
we have to go to a program where we part some part of Nogales, we switch over to the 90, the bigger ones.
and then side
And
loader.
then see if the whole thing can switch.
With a
everything.
side loader, you have one employee,
Yes.
but that's gonna be an open street, a good sized street that you can do that.
Use the smaller containers in areas that.
And then you can pick it up once a week.
My whole point, I mean, this discussion is awesome, but really, when we get into this kind of discussion, it all results in, drawing back, figuring it out, and then starting anew, because this is going to be a big deal.
Well,
This
maybe
is big.
it's time we draw back and
Figure it out.
Figure it out.
And start anew.
Maybe it's time to put in containers where people can go through the plastic or whatever, because like he says, it's a special deal. There's a lot of people giving it to, we're not gonna say, even if we had a blue container, we'd still wouldn't throw it in there.
What part of the city do you live, Mr. Hunter? Why didn't they give you a container?
My wife.
He lives outside the county or something.
Yeah. You're gonna get a container. So my wife, she would drive round trip like 40 miles to recycle, and it drove me crazy because Queen Creek didn't have this. But if we had these identified community places,
yes,
people who really want to recycle can do that. When they go grocery shopping or they go to the post office, they just drop off their recycling. It gives us the opportunity to draw back. We still pick it up twice a week with the gray, the black containers, and then we figure out how we're going to proceed.
Mr. Mayor, Council, can I interject one more thing? We do take free recycling loads at the transfer station from the public. Anybody that comes in with recycling, they drop, we have a separate area, they do drop their recycling, newspaper,
That's good
plastic,
to know.
in a separate area from that as well. And back to your point about the truck and a special route, I don't think you're that far away from it from what I've seen, again, because there are certain days that the routes are closer to probably 60% good material now, whereas if you can do just simply an audit on those days and on those routes, single out those routes, identify the truck with a big recycling logo or something, and then find the offenders on that route that are causing the problem, be it a commercial stop or maybe a residential area that is not on that program, identify those people, enforce some kind of penalties on those, and keep the routes the same without creating another route and a lot more expense.
The problem with that is that the setup is such that even on those routes that have a high quantity of the recyclable, they're inevitably going to put the gray bin in there because our community is accustomed to picking up both the gray and the blue on that day. So we're going to have to dedicate a truck just to get a real test about what our recycle potential is, because if we were just to go out that way, it's inevitably going to be contaminated.
And then to your part, it certainly would
You know what I
incur
mean?
a lot of expense.
Yeah. So it is going to be an additional expense to us, and we'll have to think about how we're going to strategize on that.
We'll be happy to work with you.
Okay.
Just one more question.
Yeah.
Do you have any of those containers, like I said, that they have at Chase Field?
The small, or they call the cardboard
those,
boxes?
The blue ones, yeah. The cardboard boxes.
We don't, but I know we have availability. At Tucson Recycled Waste, we do 4th Avenue Street Fair and stuff where
Right.
a lot of times we give them, it's just a square box. And they do a lot of recycling now. They have
Right.
aluminum cans where they went away from the plastic cups for their beer cells and stuff. However, the same thing happens out there. They'll put their aluminum cans in a bin, and we'll go in there that night at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they've been pilfered through. And the cans are out and the trash is left.
Yeah, but still, for a lot of the
those things are available.
4th of July deal here, or the different festivities, so we can have them there, because right now they're just thrown in with, like I said, with real garbage. And if we can eliminate it ahead of time, it would help out.
And I've given Aaron some stuff too on some other recycling bin type programs too.
I think,
Aaron,
yeah.
it was very good, opportunity for us to talk and have dialogue on this. And we took a little bit too much time on this one. We're going to skip the green waste right now, and we'll bring it up maybe on the next council meeting. We'll just have a green waste discussion. Okay? All right. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you very much. Item number 8, consent agenda motion for items A through C. Is there anybody that would like to remove one of them to discuss? Anybody in the public that would like to discuss one of the items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you very much. Item number 9, we have a public hearing on the proposed amendment to the Nogales tax code. It's considered possible action on the ordinance, so should we, go ahead.
I was going to explain it, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, in order to make any kind of change to the city tax code, a public hearing is required. I would recommend that you officially open the public hearing, take whatever comment there is to receive, close the public hearing, and then move into consideration of possible action of the ordinance. Perhaps before you even start the public hearing, maybe we can ask Terry to come up and introduce the topic to you so you have a clear understanding of what it is. That would benefit the public who might be here wanting to comment on it.
Okay. Go ahead.
Is this a tag team? Perfect. Thank you.
You have 1 minute. The units are getting closer.
Mayor and Council. I'm gonna let Angel Suarez take this one because he's really the expert in the ordinance. So, without further ado, Angel.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Council. Basically, what this is adopting some provisions that are not included in our ordinance, in our bed tax ordinance. And because it's not consistent with all of the cities in Arizona. The main provisions are the adoption of the penalties and interest that we're not collecting on this bed tax. In a technical change, the ordinance says right now that the fee, the license fee, the annual license fee, should be $10, but that's incorrect. It should be $25. And we've been collecting the $25, but we need to make that correction.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So, as I read the staff summary report, Angel, back in '87, the council adopted the bed tax at 4%, right?
Yes.
In '88, a year later, essentially, the council adopted through ordinance the model city tax code. Correct?
Yes.
And one of the key components of what's being presented tonight is because the bed tax isn't included in the model city tax, the city tax code, it's a legit bed tax because it was done via ordinance, but it's not included in the tax code proper. And this ordinance is actually correcting that, where it's now being included, and that's probably going to make it a lot clearer to the retail end of it in terms of going to one place, one source, and seeing it all. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In any way, does the action tonight before the council impose any additional fees, any additional taxes to retail or commercial or industrial or anything like that?
No, the tax will remain the same. It's been always 4%.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, just a question. There was a problem that came up with the extended stay hotels, right?
Yes, sir.
And now we have, it's a 4% if the people stay up till how long a time? 2 weeks, is that it?
It's less than 30 days.
If they're less than 30, if they stay over 30 days, then the hotels don't have to charge the 4%?
No, it'll go back to 2%.
It goes back to 2%.
It'll be charged only the 2%.
Why the 2%? Because then it would become like a rental tax on an apartment like that?
Yes, it'll be just the rental tax.
Okay, so that's not changing. That's the extended stay deal still stays at 30 days?
Lieutenant Sean, nothing has changed.
Yes.
Basically what it is, it's just a house cleaning.
House cleaning.
Because we're getting ordinances that have been passed separately, and they're being incorporated into our tax code. But nothing's being changed other than where they're being placed. And what this allows us to do is, there's certain enforcement and auditing provisions in our tax code. Now we will be able to utilize those more efficiently. But it's just a housekeeping.
It's just a house cleaning.
Okay, so we'll proceed with the public hearing.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Is there anybody in the public that would like to talk about this issue? Anybody out there? Is there any public out there?
Not a good explanation.
Okay, so we'll close the public hearing and proceed with consideration and possible action of ordinance number 02011-08-002.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I move to approve first reading of ordinance number 02011-08-002 and waive the requirement for a second reading.
Second motion.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Number 10, consideration and possible action of order number 2011-08-054.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve order number 2011-08-054.
Second. Discussion?
Any questions on what this is?
It's just an extension of it.
What it is, it's an extension because of the timeline, basically.
There was a request from Tucson Recycling. They've been good partners. I think they're moving in earnest to get their permit. And quite honestly, I think if we can secure 3 years at the cheaper rate, it's to our benefit. So.
And Mr. Dillon, you feel comfortable with that?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Machado, you feel comfortable with it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any more discussion?
None.
None? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Number 11, consideration and possible action of resolution number R2011-08-055.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve resolution number R2011-08-055.
Thank you very much.
Second.
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I believe
Yeah,
we
there's an
need
A.
to have some discussion on what option.
Yes, this is, it's got option A and option 1 and 2.
Yes.
But as soon as we go into discussion,
Well, the motion has to be in connection with
yes,
one of the options.
I
okay.
think so. It's before discussion. We need a motion that specifies
Did
which
you,
option.
Members of the council, did you read the exhibit A?
Mr. Mayor, can staff just explain our thought process through this?
Yes, go ahead,
Okay.
Mr. Dillon.
Mayor and council, obviously the House bill before you has authorized the director for ADWR, Arizona Department of Water Resources, to impose a fee to every municipality in the state of Arizona based off of population. That fee for Nogales is in the tune of $25,000 some odd dollars. I just missed it. Okay, $25,959 and change. There's a couple of options in terms of how to handle this. Terry, were you able to find out on the bill? Does that authorize the city to pass this on to?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so included in the bill, legislature, knowing that this was going to come and hit municipalities, through the bill authorized the cities and towns to pass that on, much like an EPA environmental fee or something like that. Basically, this cost, just so you know, this cost is being imposed on the city and ultimately our residents as a way to offset the operational costs of the department. So it's aiding in the solution to the budget deficit for the state, essentially. So what staff did is we took a look on a couple of options to distribute this to our account holders, and really 2 options flushed out. One option was just to take all of our accounts and divide the amount into those equally, both commercial and residential equally. That's one option. Can't remember if that's option 1 or 2. That's 2. So option 1 is saying, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the $25,000 fee, and we're going to take half of it and assess it to commercial and half of it to residential. Okay, so you'll see that there's a difference between the two. That option 1, ends up hitting residents less, but it also consequently hits business a little bit more. In the grand scheme of things, we're talking not about a lot of money here when you break it out. And in either option, there's two options. Either they're expected to pay it outright, one lump sum fee, and they're hit, or over a course of months this fiscal year, and we've tallied this calculation based off of 9 months. Okay, so we do need some consideration in your motion, which option, and then if you want it one lump sum or spread over months in the motion.
Members of the council, I myself recommend the 50-50 split and do monthly payments at 33 cents a month for 9 months for residential, and 137 for 9 months per month for commercial.
Basically, option number one.
Number one.
Option number one. Okay, so who did the motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve resolution number R 2011-08-055 with option number one.
Thank you, sir.
And monthly.
And monthly payments.
And monthly payments.
9 monthly payments.
Second. Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Opposed? Okay,
They're getting pretty creative at the state.
they are. They are. Well, I hope that's as far as they get with their creativity.
Oh,
You know.
we'll hear from the league at the end of the month, but I don't believe they have a rosy forecast
No,
for us.
I can imagine. Okay, number 12, consideration possible action of order number 2011-08-056.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Vice Mayor?
I move to approve order number 2011-08-056.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yes, have it.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes?
Sorry for the interruption. At this point in time, I'd like to consult with Joe a little bit more on item 13 and would respectfully request that item be tabled.
Okay. I thought we had talked about that when I saw it on the agenda.
There's a bit of going back and forth.
Okay.
For a time, we thought it might be okay, but I'd like to pursue a couple of thoughts with him a little bit.
Do we have to make a motion for the table?
Yeah, just move, somebody move the table.
Okay.
I move the table.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
And also,
Yes.
Mayor, on 14, instead of resolution number there, it's order number 2011-08-058. It follows 15.
Okay, 0.
It's the same order as the resolution, that's
Okay.
just order,
Okay.
and it does not have an emergency clause on it. Other than that,
Okay,
everything else is the same.
Okay, item number 14, consideration possible action of order number 02011-08-019.
No, 058.
058.
Wait a minute.
It follows.
Okay. Follows 13?
See
Yeah.
the number, it just follows that.
Okay, 058. Okay.
So movement.
Second?
Mr. Johnson. Okay, discussion?
No.
Mr. Hanesian?
Just
one question, sir.
It's a long question. This is basically, from what I read, this is an agreement that if things get better, the economy gets better, the money coming in is better, then there is the idea of relooking at the whole contract with these two unions, right?
Mr. Mayor, I'll be brief.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. These contracts expired, needed to be addressed. The unions, all three of them have worked in earnest and in good faith to try to get things moving for the next year. At the end of the day, CWA and the fire union, we've come to an agreement based off of the economy and everything going on that we would, instead of locking everybody into a multi-year agreement based off of a poor economy, we would buy ourselves a year by just extending the existing contract with the concessions that they made last year's budget and this year's budget, and with the caveat, and I'm totally happy to do this, that if times improve and we're comfortable that those times are not just a rebound, but they're going to stay constant, that we could engage at the table and see what we could do to restore some of the concessions that they made, during these difficult budget times. So it is really an agreement to engage. It's not a commitment to do anything. Those things would eventually come back to you anyway as a council. But it is something, and I think it's a good gesture and a good way to move forward. It also gives us time to further dialogue on what these ultimate contracts are going to look like. And we would obviously bring those back to the council for full
The
discussion.
negotiation would basically, with the idea if things became better, that I mean, you said just not a little rebound, but
Yes.
within this year or for the following year?
It
Within
could,
this budget year or
it
the
could
following?
potentially occur this year. It just opens the door for the dialogue to happen, and I was certainly willing to do that.
Okay. Now, the question is, does it also work in reverse? If the economy falters and it gets worse?
This year, staff prepared a budget, tentative and final, that contemplated what we felt was comfortable to work us through this fiscal year. This agreement didn't contemplate the reverse. I'll be honest with you. I didn't think that was too much of a reality, and so I didn't factor that into this. This is kind of a one-way. If it gets better, this is what
If it gets better, things will go better.
If it doesn't, then it's the status quo, and we have a budget that I think can support us this next year.
That was my question.
That was 3 questions.
Do you want me to expound a little more?
No, sir. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Number 15, executive session.
Council, I provided all of you a memorandum in connection with this.
Yes.
If you have any questions, we can go into executive session and we'll discuss it. However you like. Any questions?
Members of the council, how do you feel?
I don't think so.
I read good, and hopefully we will get the money in December, and Mr. Machado will take us all to dinner once we get the money. Now this money, Mr. Machado, would you explain also, this money is already money that the city has put up for Rio Rico. So all Rio Rico is doing is paying us money. It's not new money. It's money that we've already put up for the plant. It's money that we put up that Rio Rico owes.
You're right, it's really we've paid for it, it's money that they owe us.
It's money they owe us because we put it up to finish this plant on their part. So it's not money coming in. Some people are confusing. You don't understand that it's not new money. It's money we paid and that Rio Rico owed us. Yes.
So, Mr. Machado, if we don't go into executive session, do we make a motion to?
Well,
There's nothing.
there's no need to
No.
move into executive session.
Yes.
Unless you want to discuss what I put in the memorandum.
You all, do you feel comfortable with the memorandum, everybody?
Yes.
You do? Okay.
Or if you have questions now, I mean, there's really nothing at this point that we need to go into executive session. If you have something that maybe we shouldn't discuss out here, I'll let you know, but if you want to just ask questions on that, we can do that
The
too.
termination clause on the ending the contract is 7 years?
No, 25 years. Remember, the original contract with Rio Rico had no termination clause.
Yes.
That was bad.
And one of the things that we were able to get in our litigation was a termination clause.
Well, what I noticed there on the .55 capacity, that's you stand on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You know, like I explained, the big things that we got in our litigation is the termination clause, and then number 2, we've got a declaration that they have a specific amount of capacity and no ownership in the plant. I think I explained it to you last time that there was a gray area in there, but those are the three big items, and the rest I set out in the memorandum. But basically, that's and we're working toward the finalization of the agreement and the judgment.
Now, we also picked up a little extra capacity because they didn't pay for it, right? We're picking up a little more capacity.
Yes.
And
that will, in the long run, that's going to be worth a lot of money to the city.
Yes. Yeah, because here in the contract, it shows a different figure, but we're keeping that extra capacity.
Exactly.
That's why it's not the same figure.
Exactly.
So to proceed with this, Mr. Machado?
Mr. Machado, so just one quick question.
Just move on.
Mr. Mayor, that is just one question. It was, I hate to say it, and I think Joe will agree with me, was that the worst contract you've ever seen in your life?
There was two of them that were pretty bad.
Yeah, there's another one that's pretty bad. But is this not the one worst contract? I've never seen anything like it either.
It was pretty close.
Let's go, let's move on, item number 16. Future agenda items, members of the council? No?
I gave you a list of the studies
Oh,
that
yes,
we need.
okay. I believe that was given to Mr. Dilly and Mr. Machado. So they both came to working on that.
I think one of them, the IOI is very important that we get the thing rolling.
Yes. We'll take care of that. Okay, Mayor.
I got one.
Oh, you got one?
I would like to put on the agenda the Santa Cruz County.
Okay.
That wash is really dirty, and it's growing trees. It's breaking the cement. It's just going to make matters worse. We ought to do something. Go to the county and say there's money, our money back, and we'll do it. Or if you don't, because it's just making matters worse. And those roots are going to go down. They're going to destroy the IOI.
You're right.
And if we don't take any method, or we don't take any action right now, we're going to pay, like somebody was saying later on, we're going to pay for it. So I think it's very important for us to look at this very, very deeply and quick.
Let's put it for next agenda.
I
don't know if we can do that because it'll be something that we would have to discuss, but we would need some type of presentation probably from somebody from the county to identify what they think about the flood control district. They have different ideas compared to what we have. We think they need to do the work, and they say they don't.
Exactly. That's what I've heard.
So I don't understand.
And they without an IGA that verifies, we guarantee that their equipment's not going to get damaged in that portion of the wash.
Yes.
They're not going to touch it. I'm wondering if it might be helpful to have a separate meeting with the county, that have a couple of our elected officials present, and we can at least understand what those real issues are, both on the political end and on the staff end, and then come back and have this discussion as a council, so we can figure out what our next move is going to be.
But my concern is, let's do it now, because it's getting, to the point that we might have a problem.
Thank you. We'll agendize it.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Dillon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor and council report on current events. Mr. Diaz? Start with you.
I have a few things. I'll make it quick. The job fair with linkages was a success. I was talking with Mr. Moses Perez, and the outcome was very good. It was very, they were very happy, and they plan to do another job fair in November, sometime in November. We're already gearing up for Veterans Day, November 11th. So we're already starting to plan that out. It's going to be a real big thing this year. I'm going to comment a little bit on the trip we did to Kentucky to the housing seminar we went to. We did a lot of networking. We met a lot of people. We're going to give all the information to Mr. Bojorquez that we gathered up there. We'll be in touch with him and let him know how we can improve and how we can make it a little better for housing down here. And that's all I got.
Thank you. Sean?
I've said enough. I give my time to Mr. Parada.
Saying that statement, I'll keep my silence myself.
He gave you all the time?
That's right.
Vice Mayor?
Well, I haven't been here for a month and a half. I really don't have very much, but I do want to thank Victor right here. He has been my guardian angel since I had surgery. And Mr. Felix, always every day calling me, asking me how I am, so I'm very grateful and I'm very happy to be back.
Thank you. Mrs. Lopez?
Yeah, I attended the change of command ceremony of Patrol Agent Leslie Lawson. I also attended the conference given by Secretary Janet Napolitano regarding border issues. I attended the Consulado Mexicano regarding a document moving projection. I also attended the Consulado Mexicano at a special meeting for the selection of the new email representative IME means the representative of the Mexicans in the United States. And then we will have a backpack drive Saturday at Cotton Park from 10 to 3. And I'm also working towards the Fiestas Patrias event that's going to be held September 17 at Pearson Park.
Thank you very much. Mr. Felix?
I want to ditto on Mr. Councilman Diaz. Our trip to Kentucky was very, very fruitful. We talked to a lot of people. We did a lot of networking, like you said. We're looking forward to, for the one next year, because there's a lot of people that they go in there and they really enjoy talking about what they do. They put booths and how much they work. And this is what the Councilman Diaz was saying. We're going to talk to Hector, because there's a lot of people, they do calendars, and they make the kids get involved to make the calendars. They get the people involved, the residents. They get them involved in different things. So we're gonna be talking to them and giving them a lot of good ideas. But it was a really good trip. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I met with U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Napolitano and sat in a roundtable discussion out at the Nogales Border Patrol Station. Also had an employee recognition ceremony. Also represented and attended various meetings with Homeland Security Advisory Council in Tucson, Arizona, which was very good. We talked about trade and border security, and also pre-treatment, pre-inspection in Mexico, which is going to be something very good for our community when that comes online. My office did 2 presentations on education, over 50 students, about the City of Nogales' different departments and positions to help them plan ahead of the opportunities that could be available in the future within the city. We had a welcoming for 9 exchange students from all over the world, all from different areas, and they were from Lions Club. Went to Pearson Vocational School to speak with students about the City of Nogales. Met with individuals in preparation for the 2012 Charles Mingus Festival. Did the opening for Linkage Job Fair for local individuals with disabilities and disadvantages at the VFW. Spoke to students and gave them a tour of City Hall. I attended the ADOT Nogales Primary Connection for the International Border Meeting, which had to do with the new project that they're doing on Mariposa Road. It's going to start this weekend, and the milling and paving will start on the 22nd to be completed in September. Attended the Border Patrol Change of Command ceremony also. I attended the WIA Santa Cruz County One-Stop Youth Program celebration. I had a meet and greet with the new U.S. Border Patrol Agent in Command, Leslie Lawson. Met with Domestic Violence Shelter, Nuestra Casa Director, to discuss a future walkathon, and also met with the Director of Caring, which I mentioned in the image building program. So I had a very busy month, and that was only just a little piece of it. So
You took my 10 answers.
Sorry about that, Cesar.
Who else did you want here?
All right. Now, City Manager's report on current events.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Just FYI, this week officially ends the summer youth program, and all reports coming in that it was successful, and kids learned and they had fun, and that's what's really important about those programs. A reminder about the upcoming Arizona League of Cities conference. Looking forward to that. Last year, I don't think anybody from Nogales went last year, for good reason, but nevertheless, I'm sure our presence is going to be greatly appreciated there. I did want to let you know that on the 18th of August, we have a scheduled meeting with IBWC. Carlos Pena is going to be here. He's one of their principals, and we're going to be discussing an intergovernmental agreement that they are proposing that would take care of or address emergencies as well as the annual operation end in terms of update and maintenance of the IOI and the wash. So I think it plays in very well with some of the concerns that that have come forward and the obvious need out there to address this stuff. One of the things that we struggle with IBWC is whose role is it? And I'm tentatively embracing the idea of an IGA that formalizes that relationship, but with the caveat that we have to be very, very careful about how we engage that, because both parties coming together wanting an IGA is interesting enough, but when both of those parties don't want to have anything to do with it, it makes it really interesting. So, it's obviously it's something that would come back to the council even if we got to that point. But I wanted to let you know as a council that they're going to be here, and it's their proposal. They're wanting to engage us in an IOI twofold for the emergencies like we had last October with the sewage break, also the day-to-day maintenance of it. Okay. I'm pleased to announce you have these in your boxes if you haven't already read it, but it's good for public knowledge. Mayor, you already talked about the $3 million project with ADOT on Mariposa. The big thing for me on this one and staff is to see if we can get that to be extended into the intersection of Grand and Mariposa, and not just stop short of that intersection. That intersection is huge for the city, and we're going to make a concerted effort as staff to get ADOT to include that intersection as part of their repaving project, because that's a pretty critical intersection for us, and we'll see where we can go with that. A lot of construction is going to be inconvenient for the public, but we'll get through it. It's going to be a good thing for us at the end. I'm pleased to announce that ADOT has determined to repave the bridge on 82. Also, they're going to take care of the ramps, the exits off of Western and I-19. Those ramps are really bad, particularly the one heading north off of Western. Those will be repaved.
We're also going to do the 4 exits on Mariposa.
That's part of the Mariposa project, and that's scheduled to happen August 15th through the 18th. So kind of expect closures and inconveniences that way, but at the end of the day, it'll be a lot better for our community and what we're trying to do. I did have an opportunity, and I'm grateful to the council and to staff that kind of picked up slack. I attended the Arizona City Managers Conference in Tucson just last week. I hadn't been to that conference for a couple of years, but it's always good to network with city managers and with the league and with the state of Arizona, and to see what's going on with them and their budget and their problems. I think you'll be excited to get the legislative update that's going to happen at the Arizona League Conference that we're going to have at the end of the month. I received it at the City Managers Conference, and as I purported earlier in this meeting tonight, the economic prospect for the city, the state, in terms of their budget, and consequently Arizona municipalities, it isn't a real rosy one. The state's budget continues to be affected, and their on state share revenues continues to be a likely target for the state legislature as we get in. And one of the problems that we're having is that a lot of the legislature is new. There's been a lot of turnover, and so while you had an older, educated, more seasoned legislature that understood how the state share revenues came to be and what their purpose are, the newer legislators don't fully understand that, and so it's an easy target to go after those state share revenues and we're the consequence of that in terms of how it affects our budget. So as we get to the league meeting, the more we can rub shoulders with legislatures and other elected officials and kind of rally and support and promote, the best effective government is at the local level. That's where we affect the residents the most closest and the most personal is at the local level. So we need to protect those revenues and protect our ability to provide those core services. That's all. Thank you.
Means adjourned.